Welcome to a new episode of the Genius Program, dear friend. Let me take you to North Africa. At the time, the British were stationed in Egypt, while the Axis forces, led by Erwin Rommel, were advancing from Libya with a terrifying ambition to capture the Suez Canal. The canal was Britain's lifeline, connecting it to India and serving as a crucial link to the Middle East, which could supply the Nazis' needs during and after the war. At that time, Sir Claude Auchinleck, the British commander in the Middle East, sent a secret letter to the chiefs of staff, warning them about Rommel. He described the German commander as extremely dangerous to Allied soldiers. Abu Ahmed, isn't it normal for the enemy's general to pose a threat to us? You might ask. Yes, but Auchinleck's warning was about something different. In his letter, he mentioned that British soldiers couldn't stop talking about Rommel, not with hatred, but with respect and admiration. They saw him as a magician, a Superman. Auchinleck warned that if the soldiers believed these rumors, they would be psychologically defeated before the battle even began. After all, no one could defeat a Superman. Auchinleck issued an order. Rommel's name was not to be mentioned. It became forbidden, like the name of an evil creature in a fairy tale. Even in official correspondence, they replaced his name with Axis forces. In 1914, Rommel faced 3 French soldiers alone with an empty rifle. Instead of surrendering, he charged at them with his bayonet, using a surprising and terrifying maneuver. Despite being shot in the leg, Rommel succeeded in defeating them and was later awarded the Iron Cross for his bravery. In 1915, during an attack on 4 heavily fortified French positions, German soldiers hesitated due to the fortifications. Rommel not only advanced but also forced his men to follow him, threatening to execute their platoon leader if they considered retreating. He believed the moment the enemy thought they wouldn't attack was the best time to strike. Rommel's daring leadership led to a crushing victory, earning him another Iron Cross. In 1917, Rommel commanded troops in the Italian Alps. The mountainous terrain required officers to improvise constantly, as plans could change rapidly. Rommel was assigned the task of capturing Mount Matager with a small force. Using surprise attacks and rapid maneuvers, Rommel made his troops appear much larger than they actually were. He succeeded in capturing the mountain, defeating 9,000 Italian soldiers, and earned one of Prussia's highest honors. Although Germany lost World War I, and the Treaty of Versailles reduced its army to 100,000 soldiers, Rommel survived the post-war downsizing and became an admired military figure. His courage, speed, and improvisational skills during the slow and monotonous trench warfare of World War I stood out. Rommel was captivated by Adolf Hitler's promises to restore Germany's army and abolish the Treaty of Versailles. However, Rommel disapproved of the SA, the Nazi paramilitary group. Hitler, too, began to see the SA as a threat, leading to the infamous Night of the Long Knives, in 1934, during which Hitler eliminated its leaders. This action won the support of officers like Rommel, who saw it as restoring the military's honor. In 1938, Hitler appointed Rommel as his personal bodyguard. During the early stages of World War II, Rommel witnessed the German army's innovative Blitzkrieg tactics, characterized by rapid and overwhelming attacks. Rommel, already known for his unconventional maneuvers, found the Blitzkrieg method aligned perfectly with his approach to warfare. In 1940, despite resistance from other German commanders, Hitler appointed Rommel to command the 7th Panzer Division. This was a controversial decision because Rommel had no prior experience commanding armored units. His task was simple yet daunting: to lead his division through the challenging terrain of France and achieve victory in record time. Rommel moved his heavy vehicles at an astonishing speed of 150 miles per day, surprising not only the enemy but also his fellow Germans, earning his division the nickname, Ghost Division. Rommel used deception and surprise to overcome much larger forces, capturing key cities and taking 97,000 prisoners. His daring leadership and success turned him into a national hero, with Nazi propaganda showcasing his exploits to inspire the German public. By 1941, Rommel's fame had grown immensely, and Hitler sent him to North Africa to lead the Afrika Korps, a small force tasked with halting the British advance in Libya. British intelligence had decoded German communications, believing Rommel's forces posed no significant threat. However, Rommel defied expectations, applying blitzkrieg tactics in the vast deserts of North Africa. Rommel cleverly used a small number of armored vehicles to create the illusion of a massive force, forcing the British to retreat. He led daring maneuvers and improvised strategies that exploited the weaknesses in British coordination between their infantry, artillery, and tanks. Rommel turned every disadvantage into an advantage, consistently outmaneuvering his opponents. Despite his successes, Rommel faced a significant challenge: logistics. The British had well-established supply lines from Alexandria, Suez, and Tobruk, while Rommel's forces struggled with limited resources, requiring 1,500 tons of supplies daily. Nevertheless, Rommel transformed a defensive mission into an offensive campaign, earning the respect of both his troops and his enemies. In 1942, Rommel launched a bold attack on the British defensive line at Gazala. While the Allies believed their defenses were impenetrable, Rommel executed a daring flanking maneuver, bypassing minefields and fortifications to strike from behind. His audacious tactics resulted in the capture of Tobruk and 35,000 prisoners, prompting Winston Churchill to acknowledge his brilliance. Rommel was promoted to Field Marshal, becoming the youngest in German history. However, Rommel's success in North Africa began to wane. The British, under General Bernard Montgomery, studied Rommel's tactics and implemented new strategies to counter him. Montgomery fortified the town of El Alamein, creating a bottleneck that limited Rommel's ability to maneuver. With insufficient supplies and no room for his trademark improvisation, Rommel's advance was halted. Despite receiving orders from Hitler to hold his ground at all costs, Rommel prioritized the lives of his soldiers. He disobeyed Hitler's command and orchestrated a strategic retreat, saving his remaining forces from annihilation. This decision marked a turning point in Rommel's view of Hitler, whom he began to see as a leader willing to sacrifice everything for personal glory. By 1943, Rommel was assigned to oversee the Atlantic Wall, a massive coastal defense system intended to repel an Allied invasion. He fortified beaches with mines and obstacles, but his warnings about the vulnerabilities of the defenses were ignored by Hitler and other German commanders. Rommel's disillusionment with Hitler grew as he witnessed the futility of the war. He began advocating for peace negotiations with the Allies, believing it was the only way to save Germany. However, as conspiracies to assassinate Hitler gained traction, Rommel found himself implicated, even though he opposed such plans. In July 1944, after surviving an Allied airstrike, Rommel was accused of being involved in a plot to kill Hitler. Given his status as a national hero, Hitler offered him a grim choice: commit suicide and receive a state funeral, or face a public trial that would endanger his family. Rommel chose to end his life, protecting his family from retribution. Rommel's death was officially attributed to injuries from the airstrike, and he was honored with a national day of mourning. However, his legacy remained complex. While admired for his military genius, Rommel's association with the Nazi regime and his initial loyalty to Hitler cast a shadow over his reputation. Today, Rommel is remembered as a brilliant strategist who often prioritized the well-being of his soldiers over blind obedience. His story reflects the moral dilemmas faced by military leaders during one of history's darkest periods. Thus ends the tale of the Desert Fox, a man whose legacy continues to be debated and studied to this day. Rommel's legacy, after his death, became a symbol of reconciliation and a tool for post-war Germany to rebuild its image. As the world transitioned from the horrors of World War II to the tensions of the Cold War, the Allies needed a strong West Germany to counter the Soviet Union. Rommel, with his military brilliance and perceived opposition to Hitler, became the perfect figure to represent a new, reformed Germany. Unlike many Nazi-era leaders whose names were erased, Rommel's reputation endured. His name was given to streets, military bases, and memorials in Germany. He became a cultural icon, even in countries he had fought against, such as the United States and Britain, where he was admired for his professionalism and honor on the battlefield. Rommel was often portrayed as a soldier who, despite fighting for the Nazi regime, maintained a sense of morality. Many saw him as someone who prioritized his men's lives and refused to commit atrocities, contrasting sharply with the brutality of other Nazi commanders. Historians have debated whether Rommel was simply a brilliant tactician, apolitical and focused solely on military matters, or whether he was a more complex figure who struggled with the moral implications of the war. Some argue that if Rommel had possessed stronger political acumen or moral conviction, he might have been able to challenge Hitler's authority and prevent further destruction. Rommel's actions in the desert, his innovative tactics, and his ability to inspire his troops made him one of the most respected generals of his time. However, his association with Hitler's regime and his ultimate inability to oppose its destructive path left his legacy as a mix of admiration and controversy. In the end, Rommel's story is one of contradictions. A general who was both a symbol of Nazi Germany's military prowess and a figure of resistance against its tyranny. His life and death encapsulate the complexities of war, loyalty, and morality, making him one of history's most enigmatic figures. And that, dear reader, concludes the story of the Desert Fox, Erwin Rommel, a man who remains a subject of fascination, study, and debate to this day. The final chapter of Rommel's story lies in his posthumous legacy. After the war, the Allies in West Germany needed to craft a narrative that could separate Rommel from the atrocities of the Nazi regime. He was portrayed as a noble soldier, an honorable opponent who fought for his country but rejected Hitler's ideology and methods. This image helped Germany reconcile its Nazi past while preserving a sense of pride in its military history. Rommel became a unique figure, a Nazi general celebrated by both sides. While the Allies admired his tactical brilliance and chivalrous conduct, Germans viewed him as a hero who stood against Hitler in the end. His name was invoked to symbolize the possibility of a good German soldier, one who adhered to principles even in the face of tyranny. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch the previous videos. Bye.